This is the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap, and joining me, as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
Hello, everybody.
As I posted today on Twitter, we've been practicing social distancing for the longest of time since me and Jared have never actually met in person.
That's correct. We only ever meet virtually, so we are very, very good at social distancing.
Yes, very, very good.
Yes. We are well practiced. We have, 8 years of practice?
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say, hey, folks, to you that are watching, we're aware of the fact that Jared's lips go out of sync, or whoever we have as a guest, because I'm the one hosting the
session.
The session. We have not figured out exactly why it's doing that. I'm trying to, but strangely enough, it's just not revealing itself. So I do apologize for the out of sync lip reading that goes on.
Yeah. We're going to try, we discussed that perhaps it could be the blurred background thing causing it, but this is only a guess and speculation, which is what we're good at. But, so if Chris gives me a particular signal in the show, I will unblur and then reblur my background and see if that pulls the sync back in.
The funny thing is I was watching a movie the other day, and basically I've downloaded some 3D versions of movies that are not available here in America.
Oh, because you downloaded them from the internet.
Yeah, from those shady areas.
But from the backups, the internet backups area.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So, for instance, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets and Terminator 2 3D never came out in 3D here in the States. And so you would have had to have bought them European. But the problem is the European versions are not USA region. Whereas a lot of movies that get put in 3D and are only sold in Europe wind up being all region. So even if I bought them from Europe and brought them over here, they wouldn't play because I'm region A and those would be region B, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
So the only way that I was going to be able to watch these in 3D was to be able to download them. And so that I did, and I took them over to my TV and plugged them in with the USB and started watching. And two things that really annoy me were happening. The first was everything was looking that soap opera, plasticky.
That super realism, extra smooth.
Yeah, it's got motion smoothing on and going at 120 hertz and all that stuff. And I was like, why? None of my other movies are looking like this, even the ones that I've downloaded. I couldn't figure it out. And then the other thing that was going on was non-synced lips. They were just
really?
Maybe a half a second off.
Oh, that's half it. You can sort of deal with a 0.25 of a second off, but half a second, it's really noticeable.
Well, and it becomes that thing where somebody gets slapped and it's which is just not good in an action movie. It really takes you out of it. So I finally sat down and was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go into my settings because I thought I had all my TV settings dialed in. And nope, it turns out that when I'm in 3D, coming off a USB stick off the back of the TV, that I didn't have my settings and it was doing the motion smoothing. And the audio, there's a little function on mine that will sync the audio to your audio-video receiver, which is what all my audio is going through my receiver.
Yes.
So it'll pair it, so it wasn't set to that. So after I played with that and got it all, it started looking normal again. And I was like, hey, this is great now that I finished watching the two movies that I was wanting to watch.
I didn't even realize that Terminator 2 had got a 3D release here.
It did. This was 2 years ago, I believe.
So they remastered it. They actually made it a 3D movie.
Yeah, completely remastered. Cameron was supervising it, so I was really excited about that because it wasn't going to just be some crappy
hack doing a
algorithm,
a bad perspective sort of view of Terminator 2.
Right,
ruin that movie.
Right. They did some new color timing on it. I mean, they did a lot of tweaks to it, and so I really wanted to see what it looked like because I missed it in the theater. And it was just one of those things where it was like, I want to see what this came out with. It's fine. It didn't it had one or two poking. It did properly when they're pointing a gun directly at the screen to actually have the gun popping out of the screen.
Right.
But
Yeah.
those moments were kind of few and far between.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why I was really disappointed though when I was first watching this. I was like, oh, the audio is out of sync and it looks like a soap opera.
It's like, yeah, that wasn't worth the download.
No, that wasn't worth the download. So I've been I basically have now plowed through every single movie that I was interested in on downloading, and so now I'm going through TV series again.
Oh, right.
Boy, the fun when you have nothing to do.
Do you know, this lockdown business is very, very unusual, particularly for places like Netherworld, because they're closed to the public, but they still have some pinballs on the floor. So they're doing Twitch streams of games, and this weekend, being what they call Bad Saturday, for some reason, is in Netherworld terms, it's Bad Saturday, but it's the Death by Pinball weekend this weekend. And normally the place would be full of people, playing pinball for 24 hours non-stop. But with social distancing and the laws we have here at the moment, you can't basically have anyone within 2-meter radius of each other, and large gatherings are prohibited, basically. So it makes it a bit hard to do Death by Pinball. So Jimmy, James Angelis, one of the owners, is doing it himself. So he's there for 24 hours playing pinball and streaming it on Twitch.
And it's just him?
Just him, yeah. Well, somebody has to sacrifice for the denizens of Netherworld, otherwise they get angry. So, he had to do it. Otherwise, you don't know what will happen. So yeah, he's doing it, and I don't know, he would have finished by now, because he started at 9 o'clock yesterday, and he would have been finished about 17 minutes ago at the time of recording. So
all I know is I feel for his forearms. Because
yeah,
I've done, when I went and visited, two things. When I went and visited Pinball Hall of Fame in Vegas and was there for about 12 hours, and then even when I went out to Banning for the Arcade Expo, and I was there for probably 10 hours, your forearms, it gets to the point where you can't not twitch your fingers to push the buttons. I mean, it just hurts.
Extreme pain. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so I can only imagine what 24 hours. By that point, I'd be using my palms.
Yeah, it'd just be like monkey bashing the side of that machine. Yeah. Oh, he would be in a world of pain. But they do have, unfortunately, it would have been really cool to be there, because they have a premium Stranger Things. Though we actually we've got them down here in Australia now, so it's a premium Stranger Things with the projection screen in it. So, apparently it's very cool. And a couple of the arcade suppliers, Dave from Dave Arcades, who supplies a fair few machines there, dropped off a couple of ones. There was a Defender pinball machine, which I'd never seen before, there on site. So yeah, they're trying to do the best they can with the fact that they can't have anyone in the venue, by at least like keeping themselves relevant and broadcasting and trying to remain in people's minds, because that's all you can really do as a business at the moment.
Especially if you're doing any kind of streaming, you have to. We even know that. If we go too long, it's like people then just completely forget about it, and you look at the numbers on YouTube and you go like, oh yeah, people didn't realize that we even put anything out. So that's why you got to be regular with the stuff.
You do. So we have. Like, of course, over in the US, I'm sure you have a similar stimulus package sort of deal, but there's one here where businesses are eligible to get $1,500 per employee that they keep on per fortnight for about 6 months. And I think that's enabled Netherworld to consider reopening in a very limited capacity just their restaurant or their bistro, so they can actually do takeaway meals and also sell some of the beer products that they had put down for the events coming up that, of course, have been cancelled. No one can actually attend. So what I think they're doing is they're getting the breweries that they're partnered with to actually can them and bottle them, so they can actually sell them as takeaways.
Well, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
Because we can do that, so you can still, like, bottle shops and everything. Liquor stores open still here. we call them bottle shops here, or bottle-os, because we're Australian. But they're all open. You can actually purchase beer and wine and everything through them still. So being a licensed venue, I think there's provision for them to actually do that as part of this new arrangement. I think the liquor licensing laws have relaxed a little bit for this particular time.
As everybody tries to make do with what's going on, yeah.
Basically, make lemonade from lemons.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're past it now, and I know that we tweeted about it and mentioned it in the forums, but hopefully everybody saw. And we were, it's one of those things that we were aware of while we did the podcast with Mel, but we obviously couldn't say anything about it. And that was the care package that they put together with 3 Alien tables, with that, I forget which Marvel pack it was. I just know it had Deadpool and Civil War and Venom in it. And then the Star Wars pack that was Empire, Boba Fett, and I believe it was Han Solo, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was really cool of Zen to throw together, because they were just like, we need to give you guys something to play with. And I know that a lot of people in the forum were like, well, but I already have those. Well, again, keep this in mind, folks. Our forum and us hardcore, what Zen considers the hardcore people, we make up but a fraction of their customer base. They have a large casual base, and
who are new to pinball through Williams Pinball, and other franchises,
or just don't buy every single table.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's them throwing that together. They had to get together with Fox and Marvel and Lucasfilm.
Agree.
And the interesting thing is, because we all assumed that, well now Disney owns everything, but then I realized, wait a second, no, they all have their own gaming divisions. It's not just under one umbrella. So there was some coordination that had to go together, and they wanted to throw it together quickly. And the reason why it's not out on consoles, or why the consoles didn't get it, was because consoles, then you have to submit it and get it approved for the store, and that takes about 6 weeks. So that's why they were able to throw it really quickly together and put it out on Steam, but couldn't do the same thing on consoles. So
just another reason to get on Steam.
I know the funny thing is on their announcement, they're announcing it's cool, and then in the comment section it's just like, but what about Switch? What about PS4? And it's just like, people can't be happy for anybody, can you?
No, the thing is, it's always the case. You will never make everyone happy. No. You just have to do what you can, Yeah. And I get it. If I had a Switch and I was new, like putting myself in their shoes and console owners' shoes, like I do understand. Like if I was, new to pinball and like this opportunity was thrown out for one audience, I might feel a little bit salty about it. But at the same time, it's like you have the convenience of not have to worrying about setting up your PC, and in the case of Switch, you can take your games anywhere you like with you.
Well, so, and also in the case of Switch,
trade-offs, right?
In the case of Switch, there is no Marvel tables.
No, it's true. Yeah, they haven't done that. So that's a problem as well. Yeah,
a slight problem there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was very cool, and per conversations that we've had, just know that Zen is hard at work right now, folks, and they're working at home. They're not working in the studio, but they are working at home. They're continuing to do, get stuff done. So it's not like their studio has come to an absolute standstill and nothing's happening. It's just now things take, a little bit longer, because obviously all their meetings are going to have to be by Zoom also.
Yeah, that's right. And anyone who's been working from home for the last 4 months will know what that means.
Yeah. And then on top of that, it's not like any of them got to take machines home.
No. So the machines are still stuck in the studio. So,
Makes me wonder, though, do they like, okay, hey, I'm going to go to the studio, and then that person goes to the studio, does their thing, and then they leave, and then a cleaning crew comes in and cleans up after them, and then another person can come back like 2 days later and do the same thing.
I don't know how it would work. I don't know what the social distancing laws are over there in Budapest, but, I'd say they're probably pretty similar to everywhere, right? Like,
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I've
big-
heard, though, with some places where an employee has had to go back into a facility. That's what's happening. They go, they do their work, they leave. A cleaning crew has to come in, clean up after them so that it's sterile again for the next person to go in.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know where I work, the office is actually locked shut at the moment. So you can't even get in with your access card. It's like key locked. The door is key locked, and you have to contact the general manager of the state to get access to the building. And it's like, of course, for me living so far away from the office anyhow, if I was to drive into the office, I would probably get pulled over by the police and say, why are you traveling into work? And risk a $1,100 fine.
Wow. You guys are on strict lockdown then.
No, it's not strict. Like, we can still move around our suburb, though we're not locked into homes. But if we have to go outside our suburb, like, they'll just check your license. They say, well, you're from North Lakes. Why are you in West End? Which is like 30 kilometers away. And, work has basically said, look, we will not vouch for you if you come and say, oh, yes, I'm here for work. We're not going to back you up. So don't come in.
So I'm curious. So is there something on your car, on your license plate, that would give it away?
If the police, like I'm sure they have in the US, they have technology that will scan license plates as they drive. They usually have cameras in patrol cars. But, if they see your car and it's like North Lakes and registered in North Lakes, and they see you driving around in West End or in the southern suburbs of Brisbane, they'll go, what are you doing, mate? And they'll probably pull you over. I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting. All right. Okay, so today what we want to kind of delve into, we want to sink our teeth into some of the things that Mel said and spin our give our own take and speculate on some things. Because as you may have noticed, if you listened, there are moments where we went, and Mel just smiled and continued on.
Yes. You can guarantee that those are the moments where we went, oh, noted for BlahCade speculation, and here we are.
And here we are. And then also, just in case you didn't feel like watching the entire episode, we'll give kind of a quick summation of some of what went down. So let's dive right in here. We're going to kind of we're going to cheat.
This is where my detailed show notes that you can gain access to on BlahCadePinball.com/episodes come into quite handy, because I listened to the show back. Basically, it's so nice I listen to it twice when I do it. So I listen to the show, make notes for all of you, so you can do exactly what we're doing now.
Exactly. We're talking to you that are in the comments section, so that you'll notice what parts we skip.
Yeah, that's right.
But so we touched upon it right at the top of that show with just how it was affecting their game production, and obviously, while it's affecting the trade shows and everything, it's not affecting per se the development of the game. There are some aspects that have been tweaked or limited, but in terms of how they were saying that they were having a new table come in May or June. If anything, it's now more likely heading towards June, just to account for the hiccup of having to move everybody back to home. But that new pack is going to be coming on its way. That hasn't been necessarily delayed by far. So just something to keep in mind there. And then I did want to hammer home again the point that the pinball division is completely separate from the Operantia, Dreadnautical, and I forget what that... and Castle Storm 2 division of Zen.
Yeah.
They've gotten big.
They're a big studio. Yeah.
I mean, for an indie, they're still an indie game studio, but they've gotten big.
Yeah, they're a big indie game studio.
And then the other thing that was kind of just interesting, and that was because a lot of people were questioning about when Star Wars got released back in September. Was that September or October? I don't remember which. On the Switch, where it was like, well, why are we spending and why are they delaying the release of the next volume from Williams, and we're having this large gap and all this jazz. And that's because, in a word, Star Wars is huge, and as Mel put it, that title wound up as a huge gateway drug into FX3 for all the Switch users. Zen is able to monitor a crazy amount of stats, because every time you log in, you're connecting to the network. So they know when you're playing, how long you're playing for. I wouldn't be surprised if they know what tables you're playing. Just TPA knew that also. Just because they always used to talk about how many plays Big Shots got, and I always thought,
Yeah,
well, that's because they're
exactly.
short games. But
Yeah, that's right. Very short.
so yeah, they definitely, just because you feel a certain way about how gameplay is going doesn't mean that that's necessarily true, because they're actually looking at raw hard data to determine that stuff. And obviously with Star Wars, they realized that yes, they got a lot of people that got the game purely because it was a Star Wars title, and then because of that went, hey, this pinball thing is kind of fun. And I've even read some posts where on top of the Star Wars, but then it was just because of this care package giveaway where people were going, I really was enjoying the Aliens table, and I want to download a couple of other tables. What is good for a beginner, to hop in on? Which, of course, is a whole nother ball of wax, because
Sure is. Jeez, where do you start?
well, I know where I start, but it also comes down to what is it that what aspect of the game do you enjoy? And I can almost tell what direction to send a person based off of, with this care package, which tables they gravitate towards. Because there's kind of three different packages completely in terms of gameplay and layout, in terms of how you can interpret the rules. Based off of insert lighting and blinky lighting, and is it a spell ramp, or is it just shoot the ramp 4 times kind of thing? So
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we're gonna kind of skip past the challenges of the studio that you can listen to on your own. But then we go into the censorship on the consoles. And the short answer there, folks, is don't be looking for it on this generation of consoles.
Because it's just not going to happen. They need to change the rating overall for them to be able to do that. And it sounded like, from what Mel was saying, that that's very much dependent on something that you negotiate at the beginning of a generation's console, when you're actually developing games for it.
Right.
So,
which is a hurdle that they don't have to deal with on Steam. But consoles, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
which I wasn't really aware of, because again, not really being super into consoles until only recently with legacy consoles. I'm not really sure how they all work. So it was interesting to hear that.
So here's what I'm curious about. Since he mentioned, obviously, PS5 and Xbox, whatever the hell they're calling it, Scarlet or whatever.
You think it's called Scarlet? Again, consoles. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, according to Google, PS5 is supposed to arrive holidays 2020, which everybody kind of puts as October. So it's fourth quarter of 2020.
In time for Christmas, so people can start putting them under their trees.
Exactly. Knowing Zen, they're going to want to be having that already at launch.
Which, if you do the math, means that they've got to be doing something about that now, right?
Yeah, I mean, just getting them ported over to that architecture. Now, something that we also know is, in terms of licensing, because there were initial contracts with whoever they did licensing with, there was no such thing as a PS5 or next gen Xbox when those contracts were done. So obviously they're going to have to go through a little bit of that contract
renewal, essentially.
Yeah, renewal.
And make an adjustment to it. Because I'd imagine that they wouldn't need... So in the contract, they would have a limit. We found this with Farsight anyhow.
Exactly.
When they go and they say, we want to introduce products to a new platform, for example, Switch, in the case of Farsight, that has to be explicitly named in the contract.
Yeah, because Farsight thought that they had the Nintendo license to deal with, and in truth, they only had the Wii U license to deal with, and not the Switch license.
Not the Switch license, yeah. So you gotta dot your T's and cross your I's.
Yeah, so I'm going to be really curious to see then what that means for in other words, so like with the Switch, or like the Marvel tables, not going to be able to go over yet to the new PlayStation or Xbox. Is that going to be an issue? Or how about this? If they're going through licensing again, might we see the 2 South Park tables come back, and Super League come back, and Miss Marvel, and Plants vs. Zombies? Although I don't think Plants vs. Zombies is ever coming back, because that deal was with PopCap, and
now PopCap at EA, and good luck with that.
Yeah, I really don't. Of all of those 5 tables, I think Plants vs. Zombies is the least likely to ever be seen again.
Yeah, that is very much an FX2 only, right?
Yeah. And I think that Super League would only come if they were able to come up with new teams, which I keep on throwing out the idea that we should have like a team BlahCade and a team Spacey's Arcade and some of the other streaming platforms that do pinball. Have those be your soccer teams or your football teams per se.
Yeah,
they haven't really gravitated towards that, but I just want to be in the game. That's all.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Have my ugly mug as a player, because that would be the funniest thing ever. Me being in a soccer game, because I am so very, very unathletic.
I don't play that sport. But no. So that one's kind of dicey. But I think if anything, the ones that would most likely come back would be South Park.
Well, you'd hope so. Yeah,
I hope so.
South Park, they are Fox, aren't they?
No.
Yeah. So South Park's separate.
South Park is Viacom, actually.
Viacom.
But
and
that's not...
them?
What's that?
Who owns Viacom? Are they
CBS? Is the giant parent company.
Right.
But that's not even the issue. The issue is that Ubisoft has the exclusive rights to South Park because of the 2 Stick of Destiny, and I forget what the second game was that they put out. And it was one of those instances where the contract, Farsight's contract wasn't up for renewal, and while they had their contract, Ubisoft signed their contract, and in that contract it said exclusive digital rights. Oops. And so then when it came time for the FX3 switchover, it just wasn't even on the table. They couldn't, there was nothing they could do about it.
Couldn't do it.
So it's been, 2 years now? Or a year and a half since that game came out from Ubisoft? So I imagine the time of exclusivity has expired, and it wouldn't be hard to actually get that license back.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, does Zen even try? Because if anything, you would want to save it for when they eventually get Stern. And I'm saying when they eventually, because we know that TPA is not doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically, it may as well be confirmed, but not confirmed.
It's a matter of time. It might be 2 years worth of time. It's a matter of time. We're actually going to kind of touch upon that. Jared has a theory, but we're going to touch upon that in a moment. But it would make more sense, actually, though, to sign a new contract then, so that you can actually include the Sega South Park table. Not that I really want that one, because it's kind of terrible.
It really is kind of terrible.
Yeah.
It's great for like the first 5 games. Like I laughed my head off with the quotes the first 5 games, and I went, ugh.
Yeah, boy, these get repetitive.
Yeah. It is what it is. It was always harkening back to System 11 days of how you program a game. Like, it was very strange. It was basically Spellathon, really, but with little lights instead of words, which is
and one ramp. Yay!
One ramp. Yeah, really. It was back to like Data East designs.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
And
there was also like there was not even a storyline to it.
No, it's just basically there were for each of the characters that were on the table there was a mode, and it was like I still remember battling trying to get Kyle's mode, which you had to shoot through the pop bumpers for. That was so hard to actually unlock. Oh, no, it might have been Chef. I don't know. One of them was really, really hard to get, and there was no way you could finish it without dying.
Yeah, but it's certainly again, it harkens back to another era of programming and game code.
Yeah, that's right. Very odd.
Which I've been a lot of so a lot of this goes into the, hey, while you're in there tweaking for, upgrading for the next system, because the other thing that Mel said was every single Zen original is going to get the Williams physics as an option.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's massive, folks. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
That's going to change literally the entire back catalog.
Oh yeah,
to completely different games, and I just wonder, like, they're going to have to think about how they're going to implement leaderboards for that, because that's like the scores that you've been able to get on those tables in the past are going to be invalid.
the presumably it would, because you still have single player, and then you have classic single player. Classic single player eliminates, with the Zen originals, eliminates the ability to do the passive upgrades and the active upgrades. That's all it does right now. When you're playing Williams tables, it obviously also adds in the Williams physics.
Yes.
The classic single player has a separate leaderboard from standard. So actually all you're doing is adding a leaderboard. You're not having to do anything with the old leaderboard.
Oh, that's okay then. So, yeah, right. So they'll be saying, it'll be like, essentially, yeah, right. I see where you could go with that. And that would be an easy way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. But
that's
when
great,
you think about it,
gives you a whole new set of leaderboards to try and strive to, which is great as well. Like, that'll get people in.
Yeah. But it's like, when you think about it, so a table that I really enjoy is Iron Man, which I know everybody hates it, but I like it. But if you play it, the ball is a lump of lead, and the rubber has no bounce at all.
Yeah.
Now you add bounce to that table, now it suddenly plays like a regular pinball machine. Because the reason why I like it is it has a fairly classic pinball layout. It's not an oddball, like, if you look at Ghost Rider, that thing is just wonky, weird.
It is. It is very much a Zen original in the way it's laid out.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas Iron Man is more of a traditional, you could see it somewhat being an actual machine. So yeah, you throw in Williams physics, oh my god, that's going to be amazing. But here's the question. You get a table like Spider-Man with that crazy wire habit trail. Well, you throw in Williams physics, will the ball even travel?
They might have to
railroad
do about that. Yeah, they might have to railroad that. There's only really one way they can do that, I think. I mean, they'd have to railroad it.
Which, I mean, I'm fine for those certain areas that you would have to do that in.
Yeah, but if it's on the playfield and it's interacting with wood, or like a ramp that actually has an entry to it, which then can lead to, a disappearing section of the ramp or whatever, those bits would have to be managed, differently. But, at least when the ball travels up the ramp and it's contacting a traditional playfield surface, like a bit of plastic or something like that, then, apply those Williams physics to that element of the playfield. And I think if they did that, I'd be totally jazzed by it. It'd be great.
Well, and I think all you have to do is look at Portal, because that has a lot of invisible ramp action.
Yeah.
And it plays pretty dang good.
Pretty well, yeah. It does. It actually plays very nice.
But so what I'm saying is, while they're in there doing physics tweaks, I want code update. I want them so badly to go back to some of these tables and tweak the code so that your order of progression of what you need to shoot, how and why and what pops up and goes, is more reflective of modern Zen pinball design. And a classic example of what they did that to the Mars table. When they went from FX2 to FX3, they changed the code a little bit, and it makes the table more intuitive playing wise.
Yeah, it makes it just a little bit more accessible. And let's not forget classic games like Shaman, which is just like good luck trying to start a mode if you don't understand how to start a mode in that game, because you'll be flailing around for hours trying to find the way to do it.
Well, I always go to Tesla, where the mode hole is essentially shooting the ball into Rudy's mouth kind of shot. Or any other game with a side flipper. It'd be it's so difficult. And that's how you start the mode. It's like no, that should be a jackpot kind of thing. Instead, this is your main thing. Forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. Change the location of your start mode hole. It should be within easy reach of the lower flippers. That's, yeah.
And then it's just a matter of also, again, designing it so that it just makes more sense. There's more flow to what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know. I just think it would be really nice. Even putting in ball pauses so that you can read the DMD while it's telling you important information rather than hurling the ball at you at the exact same time.
Just those little things. And also, like, the thing I would love to see, and we've talked about this in last shows about how they can make these older games play better, is like doing exactly what you said, putting in like the time that you would normally get on a traditional machine to read the instructions on the screen. That will make a big difference. But also, don't scroll the text on a DMD as fast as you do. Like, you got to speed read some of these things going across the screen.
There's been times where I was just like, okay, I'm going to lose the ball on purpose just so I could read what the heck they were telling me, so that I can know this for a future game.
Yeah. I'm going to sacrifice balls so I can learn the game, which is ridiculous if you think about it. Like, that's not how you play pinball.
No.
So I totally agree with you, Chris. If they could like spend a little bit of time just doing a bit of a spit and polish on some of these tables, number one, the physics will make a very big difference to how they play. But number two, if you can make them more accessible to people, because there's going to be people that are, new to Zen pinball, and they're going to go back to these old tables out of curiosity and go, why did I even spend my money on them? Because they're horrible to play. Like, it's not going to be a good experience for them going in. So spending a bit of time sprucing them up and making them more accessible will be really good.
Yeah, because you want to see somebody not buy any more tables, they're going to purchase a V12 first, and then go, nope, I'm never buying another table again.
If that's a gateway into the core pack release, because that was essentially core pack games when FX2 released, wasn't
it? Okay, so here's where it gets weird. Because I was on PlayStation, and Zen Pinball got released. The first 4 tables were V12, Shaman, Eldorado, and Tesla, and then they came out with DLC of Earth Defense, and
that's a weird game, that one.
Earth Defense is very weird. Talk about needing code update. Earth Defense needs one badly, because it's a cool layout, but God help you figuring out what the heck to do.
Oh, it's nothing. And you know what I'd love to see? Like, on those older tables, it's almost like they had the Vaseline filter on the name. Like, everything's got that sort of weird bloom going on to it. And I'm going, it's not good. Like, there's no need for it. Just take that off.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to say there was a total of 4 other tables that got put out and that was just Zen Pinball and that was Pinball Effects on the 360, and there were games that were in Zen Pinball that weren't on the 360 and vice versa. And it wasn't until Zen 2 and Pinball Effects 2 came out that any of those merged some of the tables. And again, not all the tables crossed over. It wasn't until I got onto Steam that I played things like Biolab, Rome, Pasha. As far as I know, those weren't originally available on the PS3.
Like, I've got those tables just because I wanted to collect them all, and I don't really. I think I could have actually lived without them. Like,
I actually kind of like Rome. Pasha is a Tales of the Arabian Night wannabe.
Yes, it is.
You can kind of tell, actually, with a couple of the Zen tables, you could tell what table they were trying to imitate that was a real table, without blatantly ripping it off. But there was certainly a lot of indicators of who they were focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like it how Zen do play homage to a lot of real Bally Williams tables in some of those early designs. Like, there's definitely large nods, like, you have to meet with some of those tables. It's good.
Yeah. I'm looking. Oh, there was a major pause that just happened over on the stream. Interesting. Okay, moving on beyond then. Well, I mean, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with the next gen. This is why I'm happy to be on Steam, because I don't worry about it.
No.
But it is something that there's going to be some kind of a shift, obviously. Hopefully it's all for the positive. And I imagine, like I said, one of the things that's probably going to happen is the SRB rating is going to get upgraded and changed so that on the next gen, you're not going to have to worry about censorship. I imagine Zen is still going to do the... you'll be able to transfer your tables over from one generation to the next, just as they did from PS3 to PS4. I don't think every single table transferred over, but a good chunk of them
No.
did.
There was like 3 or 4 that didn't quite make the cut. But, you know, if you spent your money and you had everything unlocked, you wouldn't be that disappointed. Like, or the ones that had to go, I forget which ones they were, but they weren't really super appealing ones to me, at least. Anyhow, I didn't miss them.
Yeah. Oh, I just noticed Pinball Wheels over here in the chat says hopefully when next gen arrives, we get the same updates on Steam. I think that's inevitable. Steam is always going to be, as far as I would think, identical to consoles, especially since we'd probably get to beta test it all before it ever went. So, and we're all beta testing on Steam, so there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly what happened with FX3. We all beta tested FX3, and then that rolled out to everybody else. So
yeah, that's right.
I imagine
it's just easier. Like, it's easy to get people on Steam doing it because you can't beta test on consoles. It's literally impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, Steam's the platform if you want to be ahead of the curve.
Yes. So that'll be all very interesting. I just want to kind of expand upon that idea. Obviously, if we started asking Mel a whole bunch of questions, he was going to be scrambling for his pre-read statement.
Yeah, please refer to the statement that I read earlier.
Which he didn't read a statement earlier regarding that, but that's what I'm saying. He'd be scrambling, oh, crap, why didn't I write one?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how good his poker face is.
Yeah.
But moving on, we talked a little bit about the one-up cabinets, and obviously there's a lot that Mel couldn't say because most of that is one-up. Obviously, they're the ones building the hardware, building all the specs. Zen is purely providing the software. But the one question that I found was very interesting was that it did get kind of confirmed that, yes, their partnership with OneUp is going to be beneficial for licensing. And I wanted to know that because, obviously, in terms of the Williams-Bally DMD stuff, all that's left is the licensed tables. And you got to believe that's going to be cost prohibitive to just bang one out after another of those.
Oh, yeah.
And some of those are going to be rather difficult to acquire. And again, I keep on going back to NBA Fast Break, not just because I really, really, really desperately want it, but because I know that sports licensing in particular is tricky.
Parties involved in that license. Oh, it'd just be hard to negotiate.
Yeah. So if you already have a partner that has done, if you've already got a partner that has done just that, then they can go, hey, here's my friend Mel.
Yeah, that's right. Let's just copy pasta this contract and change the names.
Exactly. Right?
Because, that's how contracts are done. Because, we're lawyers.
A good bit of whiteout, and that's all. That's all that's needed.
Yeah, that's fine. Just put your signature on it. Easy.
But yeah, so I mean, I imagine that, and we all know the tables that were kickstarted on Farsight because they were rather expensive. So you got to kind of believe that would be the same deal with those tables are still going to be expensive. And so wouldn't it be good to know that you've got a partner that can maybe help absorb some of those costs, or not even necessarily absorb the costs, but give you yet another outlet with which to sell, which is having a physical item in a box store that you could probably make a whole heck of a lot more profit off of.
Potentially.
I mean, you got to think for Farsight, the profit margin is going to be much higher, just by the very nature of boxing and manufacturing and putting something out there. OneUp's going to have their profit margin be good, and you've got to believe that Zen's got it kicked in too.
No, yeah, they wouldn't be doing it out of charity.
Yes.
That's serious.
I did notice a little bit of the dig there, too, with Mel saying, we adamantly want to have this running at 60 frames a second.
Yeah. Yes,
Unli-
definitely. Yeah, there was a definite undertone to that, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's good to know. And obviously, they don't know yet what it's going to be running on. Um, whether it's
no,
again, that becomes a question for one up. Yeah, are you running Raspberry Pi? Are you running a Linux system? What are you running? Who knows?
yeah, with minimum graphical output, as well. So they need to like lock down whether they're doing like system on a chip graphics or whether they're actually doing a dedicated like entry level GPU or like whatever they're going to bundle in on the board. Like it's really, I think it's by the sound of things, they're still going through those final decisions
Yeah.
To work out what the bill of materials is going to look like.
And I do wonder because he said that Wave 1 wouldn't have the Wi-Fi, but Wave 2 would. And there's where I wonder. Okay, so is Wave 1? Let's say Wave 1 is Star Wars. Is Wave 2 the Bally Williams? Or is
I
that?
think Wave 2 would need to be Belly Williams because that will constantly be getting updates. So, like in new releases. So you would think that there would somehow have to be some way of getting access to the new tables. And, the older franchises, they're locked down. Like they're not going to get any more updates.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically. I don't know.
Over here in the comments, Pinball Wiz says he stands by the fact that eventually pinball needs to go to 120 frame option, and that 60 frames per second pinball is nothing new. But again, tell that to Farsight.
Who were clocking in Generation 1 cabinets at 30 frames per second.
Right.
And wondering why all the problems with physics were happening. So.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
I agree. Eventually, because when I played, I think Stern VR is at 90 frames per second. And believe me, you notice you have way more control over the ball. And that's what was happening with when I didn't have VSync on FX3, and when I was playing Black Rose, I seemed to have a lot more shooting angles.
Sample points.
But it was also causing havoc.
Yeah, because
it wasn't meant to be going at 104 frames per second. It was only meant to be going at 60. That's what it was tuned for. So, yeah. But I'm curious, and maybe our comment section knows this. What does Pinball Wicked play at?
I'm not sure.
I don't either.
I played that again the other day, and I'll go into that after we go through the summary because I've been playing around with screens as well.
Oh, okay.
But I did play it the other day, and it seems to like when you have it bumped up to ridiculous settings, if your video card can handle it, I don't think it's actually capped at frames per second. Like it goes pretty high.
Yeah, I'm not.
Anyhow.
I don't know. All right,
researchers are checking.
Yeah. Kind of going through the rest of the list here. If there was anything else, it doesn't. That was kind of the things I wanted to highlight. Oh, so then we got the nod and the wink moments. First one being, or I don't know if this first one was the first one I'm going to touch upon, which was there was a complaint that there's no control support for iOS. And even the Macs apparently is really dicey. At which point Mel then didn't say they were working on controller support, but he did say that they were working on, or he made mention of services like Apple Arcade, which Zen has put their games onto. And then I don't know what Xbox has, if they're still doing anything of that nature. But he said, in order to be on Apple Arcade, you have to have controller support. So,
yes.
It only makes sense, and this is what we were inferring, that Pinball Effects is probably going to get put on there, and obviously that means they would have to have controller support. So
yeah, that's right.
That was one of those prepared statements that we just kind of went, okay, let's interpret this one.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I think you interpreted it live on show.
Yeah,
basically.
I did. And Mel even said, I didn't say it, somebody else did.
So our research team in the comments are coming back with anything between 30 to 144 frames per second, depending on if you have VSync disabled or enabled, or you sacrifice the right amount of goats. So yes. You can pretty much it'll run crazy. I
Oh,
think
there's no doubt. I've tried running it at ultra, and my vid card just screams at me.
yes, yeah. It goes, no, please don't, not again, sir. What have I done to you?
But the cool thing is to know that that particular game has that much like cooking in it that you can really go hog wild with graphical settings. Which again, that one was made on the Unreal Engine, and I've told the story before that Stern Pinball was almost made using the Unreal Engine, and Farsight got cold feet about it. And can you imagine if they hadn't have gotten cold feet? Because it would have been so much better.
Amazing. Yeah, it would have been incredible.
If they knew how to optimize. If they knew how to optimize.
If they knew how to optimize, yeah. And I wonder in hindsight, if they went down that path, what we'd be looking at for the Belly Williams license now.
Well, because certainly they would have been able to scale and do beefier tables. And even if we're not looking at the Belly license, I believe that they would have been able to maybe put out some of these modern Sterns with the LCD screens.
Potentially, yeah. I think they would need a framework like that to support it.
Because they were saying that they could do it, but the proof was in the pudding, and we never saw the proof.
Yeah, so,
or the pudding.
In other words, they couldn't.
I'm sure they tried, but maybe.
I'm sure they tried.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They tried on a whiteboard, and they went, look, it goes right here. See? Easy.
Yeah. Make that.
It's your job. Go.
Go, make this.
And that person's like, no, not me, not me.
Not me. Do not want.
Did you see what happened to head-to-head pinball? No.
No. Yep, exactly.
That reminds me, I saw a note with regards to Zachariah Pinball, because they just did an update again, and somebody was asking about head-to-head pinball, which I guess is only on Steam because it's still considered beta for them, that they're still working out the kinks on. So it's good to know that is a beta and not final release, because I think the actual fun of head-to-head is there, but as I've stated, the UI for using the head-to-head is kind of a mess.
Needs a few extra iterations to make it to the standard of the rest of the game.
Yes. And to which, when I posted that question, that was the other prepared statement, wasn't it, Jared?
Yeah, it was. About, on the whole Reddit tournaments thing. That was a very calculated and very scripted announcement.
Which was kind of surprising, because I didn't think that was anything that needed but a statement. A statement, but the sheer fact that it needs a statement is a statement.
Yeah, it's very much a statement. Yeah. So why would they be being coy about self-organized tournaments that you could spin up yourself? And reading between the lines, it's like, well,
tournaments and head-to-head is kind of all lumped into the same thing. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Very much competitive play and that sort of thing.
Here's hoping that basically the matchups portion of FX3 goes away and instead it gets replaced with head-to-head.
Oh, that would be nice.
Oh.
Yeah. I've actually noticed on the subject of Steam, in a couple of the other games that I have, whose names are unimportant because they're not pinball, they actually have this play with another person feature in the game itself, and I have a feeling it might be something to do with a Steam API that they've released. So I just wonder if Magic Pixel are actually just using something that Steam has got in beta at the moment to actually enable head-to-head playing games. Like, it's a framework that seems to be part of Steam's ecosystem now. I
would love if, in addition to the head-to-head, that it would automatically go to also that you could talk to the person without having to have a third-party app for talking.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Because pinball is such a trash-talking game.
Oh, yeah. Exactly right. Like, you need some way of actually talking to your opponent.
Yeah, because if I'm gonna have to sit there and watch you play, then I want to comment on your play.
Yeah, exactly right. And
And not via chat message.
this is what I'm really missing. Like, every fortnight I used to catch up with a mate, and like, not to mention all the pinball tournaments and stuff that were happening, obviously, but like, we used to catch up and we used to just have, bloke chats about stuff, and it was over, beer and food at Netherworld while playing pinball. And we actually used to play a lot of Willy Wonka together, actually, and just have fun on that table. It seems to be the one we always like gravitate towards, and yeah, I'm really missing that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm really feeling the need for that sort of interaction. So having this sort of feature in games, where you could literally sit down with a 6-pack or however many beers you want and go and actually have games with people, and speak to them and everything, it'd be almost as good as being there.
So yeah, Pinball Wiz, I think that you're right that there is voice chatting in Steam, but I'm talking about automatically in-game. You go into a head-to-head, and it automatically connects. You got a microphone there, boom, you're talking. It's not that you have to activate it so that you can do it and chat that way, or make it in the menu when you're setting up the game. That do you want to have voice chat on or off? You flick it on, boom, it's automatically chatting away.
Yeah.
Shoot, you can even maybe activate the webcam. And you can see the person play. I don't know if I'd want to do that. I think that'd probably get weird really quick.
Maybe. Yeah.
It becomes, what is it? Cam roulette?
Oh, yeah. Oh, charge roulette or something. What is it? Shot roulette. Yeah. It would be not good.
It'd be a lot of, yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to maybe just turn that on just for your friends list.
Maybe. Trusted people only.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, you're distracting me with what you're doing. Stop doing that. It's really gross. Stop it. Seriously, stop it.
Stop. I can't not look.
Yeah, I can't unsee what you're doing. Stop.
That's right. Do up your pants.
Both hands on the keyboard, please.
Yeah. Look, I know I'm taking a long time to play this game, but that's no excuse.
Oh, okay. Anyway, all right. That's. I think that was kind of everything that we wanted to touch upon with.
I think so.
Okay, so Jared posted a theory or an idea or something regarding Stern in the forum, and I'm going to let him do it, and I'll react.
Is that about the idea, like, how Stern would be feeling about digital pinball now?
That would be exactly the idea.
Mm-hmm. So I thought, we have heard news that unfortunately Stern has had to actually shutter operations from a manufacturing perspective, because of the restrictions in the US. And it makes me wonder, would Gary be going, well, since I can't actually produce any physical tables, maybe these digital pinball tables that are coming out now, and digital pinball in general, is something that I need to actually pay a little bit more attention to now. Like, is that a way that I can actually make money? Because, Stern is well known for being creative in the way that they actually, keep afloat. They've been in the business for a long time. That means they would have to be pretty resourceful when it comes to actually keeping the doors open in tough times. So this, to me, seems like a prime opportunity for them to start ramping up discussions with whoever about getting digital tables more up to date with their current offerings that they actually have out. Now, I think that wouldn't essentially mean we would see Stranger Things come out at the same time as the table, but at the same time, I think we can do a little bit better than what Farsight was able to do with their release schedule with Stern digital tables. And with that in mind, with digital cabinets as well, digital pinball cabinets as well, with that resurgence happening, or that initial market now opening up, there's an opportunity there to get, like, essentially do away with the pin and actually have these tables in people's houses, these digital tables. So what do you think about that?
Lots of things. Okay, first off, I do agree. They're probably going, hey, we need some revenue right now. And I doubt that they're getting any revenue, or what little revenue they're getting from Pinball Arcade or Stern Pinball Arcade. I'm sure that well has dried up. Yeah.
I'd agree.
So it would be good for them to get new blood, and the only way you're going to get new blood is by releasing newer tables to digital. Not necessarily the same digital tables that have been out there. We already have surmised that Farsight's done when it comes to pinball. Certainly, if they weren't done, they would have been cranking out a machine at least sometime in the last 2 years.
Well, you would think so. Yeah. I mean, why sit on a license and not do anything with it, you know?
Yeah. So, on that aspect, I think it would make sense. Now, even if they signed a license today with Zen,
Yeah.
how long would it take for Zen to be able to produce? Because it's a whole different architecture, whole different set of emulation. They'd have to go in, totally break down, scan table, have an infrastructure within the game. Hopefully, the FX3 can even handle the Stern engine that's driving it. Or would it be enough that a license in general is signed, there's your money up front that would be given, that would float them for a little bit longer, so that when things get ramping up, when manufacturing is able to start ramping up, then maybe there's something out there. I don't know. It seems like the timetable, I think, would be kind of crazy to think that this would be a savior moment, that for Zen to swoop in. That's my thought on that.
Look, it certainly would be a short-term savior moment. Like there would be, like you say, if they were to do this today, like it'd still be, I would think, at least 8 to 12 months before we'd actually see anything from them, because there's licensing to sort out. There's
exactly. The licensing alone with your third-party licenses, you got to deal with, unless you. Again, we know that Stern started incorporating into their licensing agreements digital rights, so that presumably that path is easier, that you basically, the fees have already been determined, you just need to go in and pay the person, rather than go in with your own lawyers and negotiate and blah, 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 blah. I don't know.
Funny thing is that you would hope that they're still doing that, but after the taste that they got with Farsight and what they did with that license, I wonder if Stern would have gone back and rethought that as part of, is that essential when we're actually negotiating?
I don't think it would have cost Stern hardly anything to include that in the contract. Basically, all you're saying is, hey, we also reserve the right to make a digital version of your table. Yeah. If a digital version is made, these are the same fees that we're paying right now for your license. Those fees will also have to be paid by whoever is making the digital version.
Yeah, right.
Rather than...
So essentially, you get double dip, essentially.
Yes,
yeah.
But rather than what Zen is having to do now, so you take the Monsters pack, where obviously long ago Williams struck a deal with Universal for those two tables, but now Zen is having to go back, and not only are they having to go back and approach Zen, but they're having to go back and approach Universal, but they're having to find all the parties that were responsible for it. I mean, it's a whole lot of lawyer fee going on, and if you can cut through all that, yeah. So that's what I think that's what I think that Stern did. They basically cut through all the tape, so it's just like, hey, this is the fee that's going to be agreed upon. Should it, plus, inflation.
Yeah. Like, because if they go back to like doing something like Metallica, for example,
right,
there'd be some cost increase.
There'd be some cost increase, but you're not having to go and relicense every single song and Metallica name and
the likenesses and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. It's all rolled up in one. Boom. Here's the cost of the license. Yeah. Okay. So let's toss aside then those hangups that I'm throwing at you. Let's go into the major hangup, which is, it's not so much that Gary is opposed to digital pinball. He doesn't want whatever's for sale now competing with a digital version in cabinet.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't want to have like Stranger Things in physical form next to a Stranger Things virtual pinball cabinet.
Exactly, because he wants to sell the physical machines. Well,
yeah, because he makes it when he sells it, and he makes it when he sells the parts, so he gets double dips.
Right.
There.
But that being said, most of their tables are only for sale for 2 years, I think, and then they lose the license to sell them.
Yes.
At which point, then you could do a digital version.
Yeah, you could.
And you'll make money off of all that. And you're not competing with yourself because you're no longer producing that table.
Yeah. When it goes off production line, you get the digital version coming out.
Right.
That would make a lot of sense.
Operators have already bought all the tables they're going to be doing and already have put them on locations and you've already put them in homes. So now all of a sudden, if you have a digital cabinet that's in a pub, well, it doesn't matter. You already sold all your tables. If they buy a table, they're not buying it from you anymore. They're buying it from a used aspect or a dealer that had them for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I could see that playing a factor, that it's, so long as we're not actually making the machine right now, you can do a digital version of it. And then I do agree with you about the pin, which is like stupid. If all of a sudden this one-up... If this one-up thing starts going...
Good job.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that Star Wars pin, the pin, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that going, it's almost better than the Pro.
Yeah, but you're still talking about a $2,000 one-table machine.
I think it's more than that.
Okay, maybe it's $3,000. I don't know, but it's still, that's a chunk of change as opposed to the presumed $500 to $600 mark of a digital pin that's going to have you 10 tables on it.
That's very true. Like, that's a very different argument. But at the same time, those pins will never make their way into the arcade, so that will be safe from Gary's perspective because
exactly
they're never going to end up side by side beside another pinball machine taking coin drop.
Precisely. So I would imagine that the way the contract would work is those big machines that Zen has that they're putting on these locations, that it would probably be, but you can't put Stern titles on those.
On those, yep.
But you can put them in one-up machines.
Walmarts, yeah.
And come on, that's what Stern wants. They want to get their name out there in front of people.
It's just it's basically like giving people a really big bag of swag that they can put in their house that's got Stern branding all over it. It's just another way of advertising their product.
Which then it becomes, hey, when I really like this, I want a real machine. Who's that person that makes machines? Oh yeah, Stern. Not American Pinball, not Jersey Jack Pinball, not Spooky Pinball, Stern Pinball.
Stern Pinball. That's right.
So
it's all about name recognition. If you're looking at that apron and you're looking at that back box all the time, you see that Stern label everywhere.
And that goes back to what Mel was saying, where he said basically Zen is now the face of digital pinball. Yeah. They really don't have any real competition.
Not really.
So when you think digital pinball, you're going to be thinking Zen. And that would be the same thing with what Stern has always been. I mean, why do you think Stern is sitting there bragging about how we saved pinball and we're the number one pinball distributor in the world or manufacturer in the world and, doing all these things to tout themselves up? There's a reason for that because that's how they want to be viewed. Yeah,
that's right. They have a market position that they need to maintain. And that is to be the number one,
Yeah.
So
I do see that as a very real possibility that down the line, how this would work, that's how it would work. You can't put Stern machines on a full-size virtual cabinet, but
you can guarantee that if Zen was to do it, it would be excluded from cabinet mode, 100%. In fact, it would probably, I would imagine, I don't think Stern would basically allow anything less than a dedicated standalone app for their Stern Pinball product. It would not be part of FX3 or whatever. It would be a standalone app.
I think it would be.
You reckon? I don't reckon it would be.
I do. I think it would be one of those things where it's you can buy, kind of what they did with Marvel Pinball. You buy Marvel Pinball, it's cross-buy into FX2 when they were doing that.
But they still want that marketplace listing.
Yes.
With Stern
Yes.
branding on it
Yes.
exclusive, just like they did with Doom and all those ones.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it'll need
So
to be there.
you'll
in the
get that,
marketplace.
but then you can import it into the actual
the
hub.
core mothership. Yeah.
Yes. As for excluding cabinet mode, I don't think they would necessarily exclude it because right now Zen still doesn't even have full cabinet support. And what I mean by that is second screen. You have to provide your own imagery. It's not animated. It's not functional in that respect. And I think anybody that puts a virtual machine in the market, out there for public consumption, if any kind of policing was done on that, you could shut them down and say, hey, you have to pull that machine because it's not licensed for that purpose.
Because when you're applying for a cabinet license through Zen, you sort of have to take a photograph of the machine setup.
You indeed do.
It is.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it looked like a pretty professional looking pinball machine with a coin door on it, I think Zen might be going, not sure if what you do with that. So maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it'll be like I said, I don't. As much as I hope that Zen could be the savior of the moment and swoop in, and we could be playing a Zen table in 3 months.
I don't think so.
It's so unlikely.
As a bit of silver lining, though, you have to admit that if Zen did have to go into partnership with Stern, the way they would need to consume and build a table would be a hell of a lot easier than what they're doing at the moment with Bally Williams, because they'd have all the CAD files, they'd have all the digital assets. Like the playfields are just one massive CAD image. They wouldn't even need a physical table.
I don't think they would even need emulation.
I don't know. They would need something.
Well, no, because the whole point, and God, talk about going back into the Wayback Machine. Remember long ago when we had, was it Pinball Doctor or what was his name? He would come on our podcast all the time. He was part of our group. Bill.
The guy actually used to work for Bally Williams.
Exactly. And he said there was an actual key that would unlock the ROMs to be read, but Farsight didn't have them, and I don't think Zen has them necessarily either. Zen might, I'm not sure. But you're also dealing with computer boards and everything that they ain't clocked to today's computers.
Well, that's true. They are essentially a computer. So if you can tap into the framework and get access to the actual game code that's running the pinball machines, it's going to be interesting. Like the whole way those machines work now with Spike 2 is all distributed logic. So they have like daughter boards all throughout the playfield connected with essentially network cables that go back up to the main board. So that's an interesting architectural challenge that you need to emulate. But
I agree, it would be significantly easier, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here I am saying it's easier, and I don't have the first foggiest clue about programming.
So, certainly from an assets perspective, I think that would be the silver lining. Like being able to quickly spin up a table would be easy.
Because even Farsight said that when they were doing Stern Pinball Arcade, Stern sent them all the CAD files.
Yeah, that's right. They had basically all the assets, which is why those games look so great to Farsight standards, because they actually had all the assets, and they didn't need to scan them.
They didn't need to recreate artwork. They had them.
Yeah,
all in digital files.
Yeah.
All they had to do was build the toys as objects in a digital realm. But again, they had all the CAD files for those too, so I don't even know if they needed to necessarily 3D scan any of that.
No, they wouldn't. They just render them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And it would be one of those things that, obviously, too, that I wouldn't be surprised if, in partnership with Zen, that as they were building a new table, they could be like, here, you guys build this so that we can have a digital version to test with and use for our QA in terms of figuring out code, seeing how it plays and works rather than always relying on a whiteboard. Just as an option. It would
make production, like they would be able to make fast iterations on software oh, sorry, software choices and potentially raw playfield tweaking faster if they were running in digital first. But it'd have to get to a point where they would need to be very confident about the physics engine because, you know, we know that, you know, physics will never quite be able to match a real world table. But they'd be able to get close, I reckon.
And again, if we're talking about needing higher frame rate and all that, this is where I go again. I don't think we're going to see Stern come to Zen until Zen goes into FX4, if you will. I don't even know what they would call the next one, but let's just assume FX4. Because then you know that they would be doing yet another new engine, and they would probably cater that engine to the demands of something like a Stern or Jersey Jack or Spooky or any of these modern pins that are out there.
That's right. That's what they did with FX3. We learned, you know, unequivocally that, you know, they made FX3 to support Williams Pinball.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and that's publicly known information from Mel because he confirmed it when we interviewed him. So, you know, that logic applied to the future generation of things, I don't know, it seems to add up.
But that's why I say my personal feeling is I don't think we're going to see that next iteration for a little while, but that's just my guess, because to me FX3 is still so new. I don't know. I don't remember what the time gap was between FX2 and FX3. I don't know how many years there was.
Me neither.
So I could be completely wrong too. I mean, if there's an equal amount of years between that and FX3, and we're at that point between now and, you know, whatever, but I just seem to remember that FX3 came out right at the time that the PS3 switched over to PS4. When usually there's a 5-year gap, I think, is the lifespan. But I could be again wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky to work out the time, but we know that.
Hold on. We're getting a response on the message board there. Let's see. FX2 came out before TPA, summer of 2013. Yeah. September 27th on Steam.
It's about 5 years.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And we're 2 years? Are we 2.5 years into FX3 now?
I think so.
It
feels like that.
That's what I feel. So that's why I'm thinking we're still... If I had to guess, I'm saying we're 2 years out from seeing Stern with Zen. And part of that, too, is, again, I keep on going back to, that'll give them plenty of time to play with the Williams license and to really pump out a good majority of the tables that they want to.
Yeah, really take advantage of that license and do good with it.
Because I think that was, again, part of the problem that Farsight faced. They paid all this money for the licenses, and then they had to spread it out, which means you're not returning your investment fast enough, as opposed to being concentrated on just one license that you've secured. Because they pretty much wasted the Stern license. Again, we're talking of the 100 tables that they put out, 66 of them were Bally Williams. So the other 44 were a combination of Stern and Gottlieb.
Yeah. That's not a great use of a license.
And that's over the course of 8 years.
Yeah, that's not great.
So, anyway, hold on, what's popping up here? Oh, more FX2. More FX2 info. Okay. Like I said, I'm just gonna go off that's my gut feeling. We'll see. We'll see how good the gut feelings are once we get closer to
Christmas, I guess.
Christmas, yeah.
Because I think that's when we're going to see these new shiny consoles coming out.
Yep, and that's when I think anything would be revealed. Again, goes back to all that. Is there going to be licensing issues? Is there going to be some tables that don't make the cut, that don't come over? What's going to happen with all the Marvel tables? I'm still surprised that they're not over at the Switch.
Yeah, it's just we've already, Mel said, it's a huge market for them on Switch. And Switch is very much an introductory platform for a lot of people. They'll go, oh, pinball, this is good, let's have more.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
wish my son would get into it, but too bad.
that's right.
He's too busy playing Smash Brothers and uh, whatever else he's playing on. What is he playing? Hollow Knight. Yeah, he's playing all sorts of other things on Switch, not pinball.
So I wanted to just close out the show because I think we're probably done with
Yeah, we are.
the
We are.
review. So I'm going to close out the show with, since you've been telling us all about the fancy vertical orientation of your screen and doing cabinet mode and everything, I thought, well, I've now got a nice fancy new screen that I borrowed from work as part of all this lockdown stuff, and I've got it on a monitor arm so I can rotate it and stuff like that. I'd be crazy not to try that on FX3, right?
You would absolutely be crazy not to try it on that.
So I did the other night, and that should be the way you play pinball. That should be honestly the way that you play FX3. Number one, for those of you, probably I'm well and truly a late adopter with this, I'm sure, but if you haven't tried it yet, the things that you get are super clear inserts that you can read. Number one, even if you have a big screen in landscape orientation, when you move it to portrait and then you start playing some of these games, you go, wow, these inserts are like amazing when you see them. So there's that. The fact that, it just, even in the regular view angles without any sort of cabinet mode enabled, the playfield view is just much better. It's the way to play. It is really the way to play. And, then you get the benefit of like running in Tate mode for things like Demon's Tilt and all these other games that are, Tate enabled. So yeah, do it. If you can rotate your monitor and play it vertically. Because you won't go back. I'm going to be rotating.
It especially makes view 8 in the Williams tables make sense.
Amazing, yeah. It looks amazing. Yeah, you get so much of that wasted real estate cut out. That's the problem with playing landscape. You get all this decor that really means nothing. But when you're playing portrait, everything's like zoomed in and it looks amazing. The detail that you can see, like I was playing, a couple of tables and realizing things on there that I went, oh, I had no idea that those things were there in landscape mode. So yeah, it's amazing. I'm not going back, that's for sure. But
not to mention that the insert lights at the, like say on Medieval Madness, that are at the very top in lanes that are obscured completely by all the plastics and everything. In portrait mode, you can see them.
And that's right. Like I think that, during beta testing, I would, raise the problems with positioning of some of the cool, visual extras. Go, oh yeah, they're obscuring bits of the playfield. But when you do it in portrait mode, those problems disappear. So I wonder if the developers are actually also doing all their development in portrait mode as well, because it seems that when you go into portrait mode, a lot of the problems with the visual extras, like hiding things, are gone. So,
well, there's some things that work out better in that, and some things that don't necessarily work out better. Like, for instance, the scary clown in Hurricane. In top-down mode, you're basically just seeing the top of his head. And when he throws a pie, he's throwing it vertically down the screen, not at the screen, as if when you're in landscape mode.
Oh, yeah, so right, okay.
Some of those visual enhancements are obviously made for landscape mode and not cabinet mode. But I would also argue, who cares?
Exactly. I'd rather, the visual mode enhancements are nice. And in most cases, the characters I could take or leave. They're nice, but it's the other things that I like in the enhanced mode. It's not necessarily the characters jumping around on the screen.
Not to mention, now you have a longer playfield, which makes more sense when selecting your angles of shooting off the flipper. You now see the angle clearly, as opposed to having to apply a perspective view to it and figuring out how that affects where the ball goes.
Definitely games with upper flippers change dramatically when you're playing in portrait mode or tape mode. Like it really does make a huge difference to how you shoot.
And the same thing applies with, because I've played it in Zaccaria Pinball, and it's a world of difference on those tables.
I have to give that a go.
World of
I have
difference.
to fire up Zaccaria, I think, and see what that's like.
Speaking of things that you had in the house, and this is where I'll finish up, that you go, well, what the hell? So I moved my friend's Oculus Rift from the garage into my office here, and then let it taunt me for a day, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll hook it up. So I hooked it up, scrambling to find the proper amount of USB 3.0 ports that were on my computer, having to disconnect my second monitor because I only have one HDMI out from the back of my computer, and that's what's feeding my second monitor, because my second monitor doesn't have the the DVI port or whatever that everything is now using.
Oh yeah, the a display port.
Yeah. So it doesn't have a display port, where my computer has 3 display port outs. So there's a monitor issue. But anyway, so I got the thing hooked up, threw it on my head, hoping that maybe it was just how it was set up at my friend's house that was the problem that I was experiencing with it. And I can say, nope, that's not the issue.
Right.
It's still a case of the backgrounds, your environment, that looks all fine. The second you see text, it's so hard to read. It's not clear. There's a massive amount of ghosting coming off like the white text. It looks like it's not calibrated, where all the colors kind of shift a little bit to the side, so you're getting like a little bit of red bleed and a little bit of blue bleed coming out of the white itself. And then because you're in a 3D environment and you move slightly or you move forward, it'll kind of bring in, and it's playing with it too much. It's too hard to read the text, and it's fuzzy. The Oculus Rift doesn't have the best resolution, so there's kind of a bit of a screen door effect going on. And I literally, within a half an hour, and all we were doing was playing with the demo that was in it. I didn't even hook up the touch controllers. And within half an hour, I was just like, I can't handle this. I don't own any of the pinball in VR, so I wasn't able to play it in VR. I did want to try it out with my box, but I didn't want to download Stern VR. And like I said, I don't own Zen VR, so I just disconnected everything and was like, I'm going to be happy playing in portrait mode. And I'll deal with that unless for some amazing reason I'm able to be gifted the Zen VR. But I'm not crossing my fingers at all for that. So
no. Anyway,
that's my...
Well, look, you got to give it a go. Like I've been sort of like going through my collection of tech and going back to things like, I've got a set of Bluetooth headphones that, are compatible with the ones I'm wearing now, my little ear ones. And, plugging those back in and trying to go wireless for a bit and seeing if that, improves things on a day-to-day basis. So, it's time to just like rethink things at the moment.
That's right.
Think.
Because what else do you got to do? You might as well dig through your closet and see if you can't. Something that made you frustrated earlier, see if you can't unfrustrate yourself. But
that's right.
Because Zaccaria VR also costs more money, so I don't want to spend any money right now. So
yeah, that's right. Like many other people. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, hey folks, thanks for tuning in, saying hi to us. And
it was a bit of a longer episode today. We sort of like talked a fair bit, but that's okay.
That is okay.
Yeah.
As usual, kind of the mode of things that we're doing, we're probably not going to be around next week, but we'll be back the week after that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With talk about more stuff and things, as you've come to expect from us.
That's what this show is apparently all about. So until then, folks, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.